Okay, welcome back, guys. So let's carry on from left off. Let's see. I think we're going to be working on the ellipse today. We're going to be detailing the ellipse. So let's just see some changes to them standard. Right. Okay, everything seems to be fine. That looks fine. And just check. So I'm going to be working on the ellipse. So let's kind of get this in view. Let me take this out. I need to bring out the reference image. Okay. Let me just get the reference image of the our main character here. Let's see how the details of the lips are. Then we can kind of work with that. Okay. So I think I'll need to use the AD geometry for this. I need to use the AD geometry. But before that, let's create a new layer. I'll create a new layer in here. You have to make sure you're on the highest subdivision level. Then I'll rename this to lips. Okay, that should be fine. Let me kind of get a closer view on this. Put this by the side. I'm kind of zoom in. Let me kind of capture the. I'm trying to see if I can isolate the lips. Maybe I might need to isolate the list by giving that a separate poly group. No, it won't really matter even when we want to use the AG geometry, because we're using the AG geometry for this, so it won't really matter. Okay, let me just see what we have in here. I'm always checking around the model just to be sure if everything is in the right position before I continue. So that's if there's any other issue to fix, I can just quickly fix that before moving on. Okay. Now I'm seeing something in here that I can fix. Like there need to be like more wrinkles around the forehead. If you look at the reference image here, there are more wrinkles there. So you know what? Let me just turn on the wrinkle layer. So let me start recording on the wrinkle layer. Then I'll use the them standard brush and start adding some more wrinkles around the forehead. Let me just start adding some wrinkles around the forehead. So I'm using the lower brush size with a intensity of 33 and kind of accentuate the wrinkles I already have on the forehead even more, and even add new ones. No, let me undo that. Let me see. Okay, let me keep that. That should be fine. That should be fine. Something like this. Okay. Here also. So I'm doing this out of symmetry. I'm doing this out of symmetry. You don't want this to be symmetrical. And just give this a moment to load. Okay. So let me kind of continue on with this. Kind of do this. You don't want to create straight lines like I said initially. You don't create straight lines. You don't want to kind of create lines that are not completely straight. So let me kind of accentuate what we already have on the other parts of the wrinkles on the forehead. Okay. And something like this. Yeah, we'll kind of continue this on like so. Kind of dig in there even more. Something like that should be fine. Alright. Maybe even add new ones on top of this. Kind of following the directionality of the skin pores on the forehead. Okay. Maybe even more around here. Something like this should be fine. It should work. Okay. Even here also. I think we're almost done. Then I'm going to take down the brush size and do even lighter stroke on like a lighter wrinkle strokes on top of this. Just around here also. Okay. Lighter stroke. Not too obvious, but just to have something in there regardless. I think we're almost done with this. We're almost done with this. We're almost done with this. Okay. So that now yeah, now that's fine. That's fine. We can definitely work with that. Alright. Just kind of breaking this up a bit more so it doesn't feel too straight. Maybe even around this part also. Alright. I think now it's safe for us to work on the lips now. So I'll be using the AG geometry feature for this. So let's go to the AG geometry. We need to kind of turn it on first. So let me scroll down and click on Sculpt HD and would allow this to kind of render out. So it's kind of making this black. So let me go to the subtool and turn off the paintbrush stroke. And it's making the model too dark also. So I need to increase this all the way to a full white. That's fine. So now if I should zoom in here, let me just put this around the neck and I'll click hit A on the keyboard and allow this to calculate. That's fine. It has maxed that part out. So I'll click on solo. So I'll just solo this out. Okay. So now it's kind of a bit slow because of my low end 16 gig RAM PC. So let me just kind of get this in view. Let me get this in view. It's kind of a bit tricky to kind of get this in view because it's now slow. Okay. So now I'm going to be using an alpha for this. I'm going to be using the flip normals lip alpha. So they actually have two for the upper and then lower lips. But let me kind of use this to kind of max out the lip region. So with the gizmo, I'll just hold control and drag up upwards. So it kind of maxes out the lower lip. I just want to kind of isolate the lower lip so I can actually work with that. Yeah, something like this should be fine. Then I will invert the selection. I'll just zoom in and then I'll click out to invert the selection. Then I'll go out of this gizmo. Let me try and blur this out by holding control and clicking on the surface of the model. But it won't really do much even though we blur this out because it take a longer time to kind of blur this out. More of that smooth transition on the edge. So we can just leave this the way it is. Then go to Lightbox, Alpha. Should be though I already have some other alpha for lips though, but let me try the one for best flip normals. Let me try the one from flip normals and let's see how that works out. So you have the lower lip bottom. So I will just kind of double click on that to kind of plug this into the alpha slot. No, I need to change. Let me zoom in. Let me get a closer view on this. Get a closer view on this. Then I need to turn this to drag rectangle. Select that. And I'll increase the brush intensity a bit more. Let me drag this out like so. Oh, it's creating some kind of bump on top of this. I don't want that bump. I don't want the bump on top of this. So I'll need to undo that. So we need to adjust the alpha settings for this. So modify, scroll up, radial fade, RF should be on 10, then mid value should be on 45. So that should be fine. Let me increase that a bit more. Let me turn on symmetry for this so we can work faster on this. I'm just try to get this maybe around here. I'm just thinking it's kind of good though, but the center part feels a bit empty. Center part feels a bit empty though. Center part is a bit empty. I might just have to undo this and redo this again and kind of make sure the center part has like a separate alpha drag on top of that. So let me undo that to take down the intensity. Then I'll go very close to the edge. I'll scale this like so should be fine. Yes. Yeah, this should be fine. Then on the center part, I'll turn off symmetry. Turn off symmetry for this and I'll just drag this out on top of this. Yeah, that's fine. So now I can work with this now. So I can just go in there and start detailing this. Okay. So let me start detailing this. So I'm going to use them standard to kind of add some more depth in there. Kind of adding some more depth in there. I'm just adding some more depth like randomly. Let me go to get an angle on this. So I'm just kind of doing this randomly. And I'm kind of using the existing cuts in there to kind of do this. I'm using existing cuts to do this. Okay. Just doing this randomly across the surface. Just to have more depth in there. So kind of elevated or depressed depth in there. Alright. Okay. So now I can use the standard brush now. Let me turn off the alpha. Turn off the alpha. Put this on dots. Let's see. I'll zoom in. Okay, let me get a better angle on this instead. No, just face this towards the camera. Like so. Then I can kind of use this to kind of add some kind of height information on top of that's way too aggressive. Let me take down the intensity. Then I can kind of undo that. That's too aggressive also. I'll just go light-handed. I kind of do this randomly across the surface. Just to have some more elevated depths in there. So the surface of the skin, so the surface of the lip doesn't look completely flat. So I'm kind of adding some more elevated height information in there. Okay. Just doing this randomly across the surface, like so. I'll get a better angle on this so I can kind of see the angle properly. I think something like this should work. Maybe even more on the bottom side. Around there, even more like so, in here. So basically just going randomly with different brush size and kind of adding some kind of depth information in there. So now you kind of view this from a distance. Because you want to view this from a distance to be sure if the details are not so noisy. And this looks good for now. This actually looks good. You can actually work with this. It actually looks good. And you can always take down the intensity if that is too much. So now with the them standard brush, I think I'll turn on, okay, let me turn on symmetry now. So I'm kind of add like break up, like tiny lines, break up lines in between that transitional flow around the border of the lip. Something like this. Let me kind of zoom in and show you guys what I'm doing. With a smaller brush size, with more intensity, smaller brush size, I kind of carve some cut lines in here randomly, just at the bottom parts. If you look at references of lips, you might see some of these details I'm adding in here now. just to add another extra layer of detail on top of this. Okay, so now we're done with this. Now we can work on the upper lip. So all we have to do is just invert the selection. Then we'll be using a different alpha for this. So I'll kind of get a better angle to this. Something like this should be fine. Okay. So now we're going to be using a different alpha. Okay. We also have lip top. So let me double click on that to use that. Same thing, radial phase should be on 10, mid value 45. Then let me kind of drag this out with symmetry turned on. Let me see what we have in here. Okay. It's going maybe something like, not too sure. Let's see. Let me kind of max. I think I'll need to max out. Let me use the pen maxing tool. It doesn't seem to be working. Okay. Let me try this again. Yeah, it's working now. So let me undo that. So I'll just kind of do this around the edge, because I don't want the alpha bleeding out too much of the shape of the lips. Okay, something like so. Yeah, this will be fine. Now just kind of drag. I'm kind of, oh, no. Let me find a good angle for this. No. Let me redo this again. Yeah, around this angle should be fine. Even more, like so. Somewhere around there should be fine. Maybe even more. Okay. So now we just need to fill up the center part. So with symmetry turned off. No, let me undo that. Let me kind of get this to feel right. I think something like this should be fine. Yes, I think we can work with this. Okay. Okay. So we're basically going to repeat the same process we did for the lower lip. Okay, let me undo that feels. Let me just take down. I don't intend it to be too much. No, that's off. Let's go up higher a bit more. No. Uh, maybe I just have to max out the other parts of the lips. I don't want this to bleed out too much. So it doesn't interfere with the other details we have in there and make the details too noisy. Let me kind of max that out a bit like so. Somewhere around here should be fine. And I'll drag that out again. So now it's not bleeding out too much anymore. Though the intensity feels way too much, but that's fine. We can always tone this down from the layer settings. So let me go out of this. Kind of check this. Hmm, kind of trying to figure out if I want this or not. I'm trying to, is the flow I'm actually looking at. Is the flow. Is the flow I'm actually more concerned about. I don't know if the flow is right. Or maybe I can just connect it. Yeah, I think I will just connect it. So I'm going to use standard brush and kind of connect this like so. Then just the same repetitive process around this. So out of symmetry mode, I will kind of accentuate some of those lines a bit more. Okay. And also I'm still going to use the standard brush also. Kind of repeat the same process. Then just kind of add some more cut lines at the border, at the edges. Something like so. Okay. Then with the standard brush now, just kind of make some parts feel a bit fleshy. But I need to, mistake. Let me undo this. I'm supposed to turn off the, so let me undo some of this I've done. Okay. Yeah, so now I can turn off the alpha and then use the dots and take down the intensity. Should not be too intense. Then kind of add some more elevated bumps in there. I'll just do this across randomly. Okay. I think we can actually live with this. Let's see what we have. Yeah, this is fine. I think this should be fine. So if you want from a distance, it actually looks good from a distance, which is exactly what we want, even without taking down the intensity. So this is fine. So I'll see you guys in the next lesson. I'll work on the scars. Bye for now.